Hey guys, what's up? It is nice to be making a video again. It feels really good to start off 2026 making and creating content, and hopefully in the future I will make more videos. I've said that in the past and I really haven't. But I'm hoping that 2026 is a year where I can really pursue more creatively from my hobbies and interests. 2025 was like a big year of like growth for me. Big mental health focus from 2025. It was quite a year for me, but I'm so blessed from that year. But I do love making these top albums videos, and I really appreciate the people that have stuck with me and watch my videos, or just new people that stumble upon these videos. I thank you so much for watching. I am going to put my honorable mentions out there. Here they are. I narrowed down my top albums list to 17 records. Number 17 for me is Private Music by Deftones. I feel like this album really kind of feels like a return to form, of kind of reminds me of like their earlier work. It gives me very White Pony vibes. Whereas I feel like their last album was a little bit more experimental with their sound, but this one kind of feels like a little bit more of a return to form. But I will say a great listen. I usually like to give like my top 3 favorite songs for each album. So for this one, I would have to say Locked Club, Cut Hands, and My Mind is a Mountain. Number 16 on my list is Bodies by Thornhill. And speaking of Deftones, Thornhill definitely has a Deftones influence to their music, but I would say with more of a also current kind of modern pop style, but also still keeping like that hard rock metal. My 3 favorite songs from this album: Nerve, Silver Swarm, and Under the Knife. Number 15 on my list is Send a Prayer My Way by Julian Baker and Torres. This is the first time both artists kind of collaborated on a project together. This definitely has a country vibe to it, but I also feel like it's not that modern radio country. It is truly feels like a classic folk style country album, just from the way it feels in the production, to also the use of like the varied instruments, fiddle and banjos, but also having like this very storytelling vibe lyrically to some of the songs. So that's why it also kind of feels very folky and very intimate in a way. I'm a huge Julian Baker fan, so I'm not surprised I would love this project. I feel like her and Torres really have beautiful voices that blend together well, and it's also 2 different kind of tones. Torres has a little bit more of a lower, kind of deeper vocal registry, whereas like Julian's a little bit more soft in her vocal style. And I would say my top 3 favorite tracks on this album are Dirt, No Desert Flower, and Showdown. Number 14 is Silver Deliverer by Ali and AJ. I did really love With Love From, and I would still say that overall is a better record for me, but Silver Deliverer is fantastic. Beautiful songs. A lot of this feels definitely about kind of motherhood, as Ali just recently became a mother, and I feel like a lot of these songs are just about appreciating life and learning through life. Musically, this record is just beautiful. I feel like the guitar's always so interesting, and their vocals together are just beautiful, and they've just grown together so beautifully as just sisters, and I love them so much. Like I can't. They're great. My favorite songs on this album are Dandelions, What It Feels Like, and Silver Deliverer, the title track. Number 13 is Violet by LS Dunes. This is their 2nd record, and I gotta say, it's so cool to have a super group like LS Dunes with like Anthony Green, members of Coheed and Cambria, as well as like members of Thursday, and they just bring together just an amazing a collection of songs, and I feel like on Violet it definitely has taken things up a notch. I feel like they're experimenting more here with their sound, and it's not just so constantly gritty, but they're kind of utilizing like atmosphere to really create a unique record. And Anthony Green as a vocalist with just his range is incredible, so I always have to give that man his flowers. My top 3 favorite songs from this album are Violet, Like Magic, and Forgiveness. I think Forgiveness is like an incredible closing track. So good. So dang good. Number 12 is Mayhem by Lady Gaga. Definitely a unique one for me to have on the list. I don't think I've ever put a Lady Gaga album as like a top record for me, but I've really appreciated Lady Gaga's voice over the years, and just like how she really always tries to go for different styles in her music, and she really can kind of sing like a little bit of everything. I enjoy this record. It definitely feels like it goes back to poppy or dancier Lady Gaga, but with like this dark kind of edge to it. I really appreciated a lot of like organic instrumentation that felt like it was used throughout this record. A lot of these songs were just fun. My favorite songs on this one are Perfect Celebrity, Killa, and The Dead Dance. Number 11 is The Sound a Body Makes When It's Still. I always forget what the title of this record's called just because it's a long one. But this is just a great Hot Mulligan record. I feel like they've really consistently been coming out with great records, and it's really cool to see them grow as a band. I saw them play a lot of these songs live, and it was just so awesome, and it put the album more in perspective for me. I really appreciate the overall dynamic flow that this album has, from kind of starting slow to really gaining momentum and speed. Like that first song that starts this album really just kicks it off right, and from start to finish it's overall a super consistent and great, enjoyable, interesting pop punk album. Or Midwest emo, if you want to put it in that genre. I don't know. I'm bad with genring, okay? But my favorite songs on this record are Slumdog Skungillionaire. I have to like really read these because some of these titles are crazy. It Smells Like Fudge Axe in here, and Moving to Bedbug Island. Number 10 for me is Reconstruction by Lecrae. I really explored Christian rap as a genre that I really liked, because rap music, sometimes the lyrics are just so ooh, and it's really nice because of the Christian faith. And I'm gonna say it, I think some of it is really a whole lot better than like other, rap music, and that's all I'm gonna say. But Lecrae is just a really consistent rapper, and even just like I said, from a talent standpoint, incredible. Whether this is a Christian rap album or whatever you want to look at it as, it's just a great rap album. It doesn't matter. Lyrically, he just loss of faith, but then gaining it back and reconstructing that faith and making changes in his own life. And he goes through that a lot, talking about that a lot in this record. And I love some of the features, and this is definitely my favorite Lecrae record. I think it sounds incredible, and it's a big track list, but honestly, there's a lot of gold in here. My favorite songs on this album are Headphones, Bless You, and Tell No Lie. Number 9 is Never Enough by Turnstile. Again, another incredible band, and I saw them live for the first time in a while on their like Never Enough tour that they just did, and they played like a good chunk of songs off this record, and they have really experimented as a band and have really pulled out unique sounds in their music, and I've always appreciated that. On this record you can definitely hear a new wave influence sonically, almost reminds me of like the Police, the way like the guitar tones sound, and also just melodically as well, but still having that Turnstile hardcore at heart. Number 8 is The Place After This One by Underoath. As you guys know, and maybe the posters behind me will give you an idea, Underoath has been one of my favorite bands since like 2009. This album definitely feels like they're kind of going in more of a radio rock direction, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It just feels like a lot of these songs have a certain formula and a certain like melody, and there's a lot of catchy choruses, and they're wonderful, And I think what separates this from that type of music too is just musically, the band is talented as hell. So amazing drum playing and guitars and just the structure of the songs I think are still so great. And Spencer as a vocalist too, just like a singer, a screamer, and Aaron still incredible raw vocals too. Like it's such a great album by them. My top favorite songs off this one are And Then There Was Nothing, All the Love Is Gone, and Devil. Number 7 is Joyride the Pale Horse by Heart Attack Man. Another band that I was grateful to see this year. That was such a fun, rowdy, like punk show. Heart Attack Man is just such a cool band, and I feel like they don't get enough love, and people need to check them out more, okay? I'm just saying. And to me, this is probably my favorite record they've ever done. I think this is a great album. A lot of these songs are short, sweet, but they're really to the point, and a lot of the lyrics on here are kind of like self-deprecating humor. I always enjoy that kind of about Heart Attack Man. They kind of poke fun at themselves or at a situation. Just great songs on here. Again, fast-paced, a lot of the energy. They don't really slow down for the most part. And just catchy choruses. My favorite songs on this album are One Good Reason, Laughing Without Smiling, and Call of the Void. Number 6 is Clockworked by Stray from the Path, and sadly this is Stray from the Path's last album, as they announced that they were breaking up. Stray from the Path is just an incredible band, and I feel like they were just getting better and better as their albums were coming out, and this by far I think is my favorite Stray from the Path album. It is just balls to the wall, non-stop the entire time. Amazing drum work, just really great like breakdowns, and the lyrics of course have this political edge. A lot of these songs are great. I love going back to this album if I don't want to listen to something heavy, like just literally from start to finish nonstop. My favorite songs off this album are Shot Collar, Kubrick Stare, and Can I Have Your Autograph. Number 5 is Sharon Van Etten and the Attachment Theory. This is their self-titled. It's really cool that Sharon is kind of bringing more of a band aspect, musically more of a collaborative feel, and a lot of the songs on here were super interesting to me, but also still having great lyrics and great vocals as Sharon always gives. And a lot of these songs just talk about political and social things, but also just personal things and relationships and working on life. She was actually my first concert of 2025. Saw her like back in like, I want to say it was February. She played in Rhode Island. And she did play pretty much most of these songs with the Attachment Theory, and it was so cool just to see all of them play together. They really have great chemistry, and I think that this is why this is, I feel like, one of Sharon's best records to come out with. The bass on this album is incredible. Their bass player is just awesome. Makes them what they are and gives them the fullness. My favorite songs off this album are Idiot Box, Something Ain't Right, and Trouble. Number 4 is Breach by 21 Pilots. It feels like Josh as a drummer has really just grown. You can really tell, and the fact that he also sings on a track on here is really special. And I feel like a lot of these lyrics and a lot of these songs kind of connect the dots back to Trench, which is another one of my favorite 21 Pilots albums. I love a lot of the lyrics on here. It feels like Tyler is, of course, always, Tyler Joseph always talking about mental health, but also kind of going back to his faith and really thinking about that more and kind of trusting in that a little more. And my favorite songs on this album are Garbage, Cottonwood, and Drum Show. Number 3 for me is Starline by Chance the Rapper, and I did listen to a lot of rap music, and a big factor of that was Chance the Rapper coming out with an album. And again, another artist I saw in 2025, and it was incredible, and he played a lot of songs off this record live, and just hearing that emotion too behind really the strength of these lyrics. These are some of the, I think, the best lyrics he's ever written. It's in my opinion by far his best record. There's a little bit of everything on this. There's definitely more serious songs on this record, but I feel like this was an album that Chance needed to make. Really incredible. His flows are always amazing, and this was definitely something that was in rotation for me a lot when it came out. My favorite songs on this album are Just a Drop, Letters, and The Highs and Lows. Number 2 for me is There's a Whole World Out There by Arm's Length. That was a band that I always heard about, but didn't really give them a proper listen until this year. And especially when this record came out, it's really cool just to see Arm's Length also just get more notoriety. I feel like 2025 was a big year for them. I listened to this record so much. I feel like I really connected with it lyrically. It had a lot of emotion and a lot of staying power with me. A lot of the lyrics are crushing, but they hit in the right spot, and they're catchy and good too, so that also works. My favorite songs off this album are Attic, The Weight, and Palinopisia. I think I'm saying that right. And number 1 for me, guys, this being my number 1, this was a clear number 1 for me. My Spotify Wrap even confirmed it, as this person was my top artist, and that album was also my number 1 top album. My number 1 is The Crux by Joe. Or DJO. I used to call it that, but it's Joe. Okay, guys, it's Joe. Another artist that I saw this year, first time seeing him, I didn't really give Joe a proper listen, I feel like, until this year. I, of course, knew of that huge smash hit that he had, and he really just gained resurgence too as an artist, I feel like, more this year, because that song kind of just gained more exposure end of the beginning. This album though is incredible. I think his best piece of work, and it also just felt like it came out at a time in my life when I was learning lessons and figuring things out and growing. It feels like lyrically on this record, it's what he's doing as well. He's trying to get through the crux of these situations. And some of it has to do with figuring himself out after the end of kind of a long relationship that he had. But I also just feel like this record was about him learning more about himself, and that just felt really relatable for me from 2024 going into 2025. So this album was a major listen for me. It is a no-brainer that this is my number 1. Joe does such a great job on this record, really bringing in unique influences of his own sound, but also bringing back classic sounds too that I can appreciate. He really does have an influence of new wave and kind of classic rock feels. I definitely hear a lot of Cars influence, but also there's some songs that almost have a Beatles sound, and but still kind of Joe being Joe and having his own unique flair to it. Favorite songs from this album are Lonesome is a State of Mind, Egg, and Link. Well, that was it, guys. Oh, as I kick the tripod, I really hope you enjoyed this list of my top 17 albums of 2025. Really appreciate people that take the time to watch them, new or old. And hopefully I can get back into the groove again with 2026. But I really appreciate it, guys. God bless. And as always, stay brutal. Stay tuned for more videos. Hopefully, it'll happen.